So when we want to evaluate, what we need to understand is like what these points, like how can we use these angles to evaluate our trigonometric functions? Well, just remember sine of theta represents the y coordinate, sine of theta equals the y coordinate of any coordinate point on the unit circle. Cosine of theta represents the x coordinate, and tangent of theta equals the tangent of theta is y over x. Then we have the reciprocal functions. So we have the cosecant of theta, which is 1 over y, secant of theta, which is 1 over x, and then we have the cotangent of theta, which is an x over y. Okay, so how much room do we got? We got a lot of room? Okay. Guess we got a decent amount of room here that we'll get into. Okay, so let's go ahead and evaluate all 6 of these. So I think the main thing that we want to do for each of these points before we go and evaluate is figure out the coordinate point, right? So hopefully you recognize 7 pi over 6. That is going to be in the third quadrant, all right? So everything's going to be negative and has a reference angle of pi over 6. So if I go into the unit circle, I can see that this coordinate point is going to be negative square root of 3 over 2, comma, a negative 1/2. Okay, so again, I'm doing things rather quickly. Hopefully you can kind of follow along. So if I want to find the sine of this, that's going to represent the y coordinate. So sine, I'll just do sine of t because we already know t right there. So sine of t in this case is going to be a negative 1/2. Cosine of t is going to equal to a negative square root of 3 over 2. And the tangent of t, now this one's going to be a little bit more work here, right? That's going to be the y over the x. So that's a negative 1/2 divided by negative square root of 3 over 2. The negatives go to positive, right? And now I'm going to be left with a 1. The 2's divide out. So I'm left with a 1 over negative square root of 3 over 2. So 1 over a square, oops, let's put an equal sign here. So therefore, this is going to be a 1 over a square root of 3, which you can rationalize the denominator by multiplying a square root of 3 on the top and bottom. And that's going to give you a square root of 3 over 3. Again, that's a positive. Now let's go through the reciprocal functions. So the cosecant of t. So remember the cosecant of t is just going to be reciprocal, right? So that's going to be a negative 2. The secant of t. Secant of t is going to be reciprocal over here. So that one's going to be a 2 over negative square root of 3, which again, rationalize the denominator. So multiply by a square root of 3 on the top and bottom. That's going to be a 2. So it's still a negative square root of 3 over 2 over a 3. And then we have the cotangent of t. So cotangent t is basically this exact same one, just flipped, right? So now the 2's again will divide out, and that's just going to be left with a square root of 3. Now, I don't want to write out all those again, so I am going to copy and paste this. Hopefully I can do this perfectly. I think I did. And let's do it all over again. Haha. Oh, I did miss up one. That's okay. We can go and add a nice little line here. There you go. All right, so put a line there. All right, so now let's go and do this point. Now this point, I'll do a different label here. So negative 5 pi over 4. So negative 5 pi over 4 here is, that's going to be in the second quadrant. I think that's maybe where I that. So that's going to be in the second quadrant. The reference angle is going to be pi over 4. So that angle is square root of 2 over 2, comma square root of 2 over 2. But since it's in the second quadrant, my x is negative. So that's a negative square root of 3. I'm sorry, negative square root of 2 over 2, comma a square root of 2 over 2. Okay, so the sine represents the y coordinate, square root of 2 over 2. Cosine, x coordinate, negative square root of 2 over 2. Tangent, which is y over x. Well, guys, either are the exact same thing, right? So anything divided by itself is just going to equal 1. In this case, one of them is negative, so it's negative 1. Cosecant is going to be 1 over y. So let's go and do that. So that's a 1 over square root of 2 over 2. Again, multiply by your reciprocals here, or multiply over here. You're basically going to have a 2 over square root of 2. You rationalize the denominator on the top and on the bottom, and you should be left with a, let's actually rewrite this out. Actually, I forgot this one. So if you multiply, so you're going to have a 2 over a square root of 2. Rationalize the denominator, right? And you're just going to be left with the square root of 2. Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. So rationalize the denominator, and that's going to leave you with the square root of 2. Now, the cool thing about pi over 4 is whatever you get for cosecant, you're going to get for secant, right? They're basically the exact same answers. Except notice, obviously, cosecant is negative, right? So that's a negative square root of 2. And then cotangent is going to be x over y, which is, again, same thing over the same thing. So that's going to be a negative 1. And then let's go ahead and play this game one more time. And evaluate now for this angle at 3 pi over 2. Now this angle is interesting because we need to, this angle is not this is not a coordinate point on within the unit circle. This is actually on an axis. And this coordinate point here is 3 pi over 2. That's going to be at 0, negative 1. Okay, so kind of a little interesting here. So my sine in this example is going to be my y coordinate, which is negative 1. Cosine, x coordinate, which is 0. Tangent, which is y over x. So that's going to be negative 1 over 0, which, ladies and gentlemen, you can't divide by 0, so that is undefined. Cosecant, though, is 0 over negative 1, so that's going to be 0. Secant is 1 over negative 1, which is just negative 1. But cotangent, guys, I'm sorry, secant, did that wrong. Secant, sorry, let me slow down here. Tangent was undefined, good. Cosecant is 0 over negative 1, which is 1, oh, no, I got those wrong. Cosecant is 1 over y, right? So that's 1 over negative 1, which is negative 1. Secant is 1 over x, which is 1 over 0, which is also undefined. And cotangent is x over y, which is 0 over negative 1, which is equal to a 0. Okay, so that was going through all of them.